Welcome to the Turn the Page podcast with Alyssa and Leah, where we share our love of children's literature and help you create page turners. On our first episode, we're going to tell you a little bit about ourselves and the story behind this podcast. Hi, Leah.
Hi, Alyssa.
Go ahead and introduce yourself and tell everyone a little bit about yourself.
Okay, so my name is Leah, and I am a first grade teacher. I teach a gifted first grade class. I've been teaching for 12 years. This is our 13th year. We're going into our 13th year. Wow. Okay. I've also taught second and third grade for 30 years, and then I started teaching first grade, and I love first grade. And I think one reason is because they are emerging readers.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah. They're learning how to read, and I love to read. And so I definitely try to instill in my first graders a love for reading. And we're going to talk about that on this podcast.
Absolutely. So I am a gifted coordinator at elementary school. So I work with K through 5 gifted students in a resource program, as well as K through 5 gifted teachers at my school and then one other school. But I have taught third grade and third and fourth grade combination class. So at that point, I had a lot of reluctant readers, and I felt like it was my job to kind of help them realize this could be a fantastic world for them to join. Most of them were good readers. They just didn't have that love for reading yet. And so I really love inspiring a love of reading in kids. And we push a lot of reading incentives at our school. And so I am in charge of Accelerated Reader. So whatever your opinions are on that, I know that sometimes it's a hot topic, but we use it to inspire that love of reading and incentivize kids for, reading new books, trying new things, and also comprehending those books that they read, which is obviously important for their life. So, yeah.
Absolutely. So I'm going to go ahead and tell the story of how this podcast got started from my point of view, and then I want to hear what your thoughts are. So throughout my career, I've always had the question, so what books should I buy for my child? What do you think my child should read at home? And it's kind of an on-the-spot question. It's usually at the door of the classroom.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, that's a loaded question. I can't just rattle off 5 titles. Well, I could, but not every kid is going to like the same 5 titles. So I'm thinking, I know that the parent wants to hear based on level, based on what we're doing in class, based on what's going to help them grow in school intellectually. And my answer, I want to say, is whatever your child is interested in. That's what I want my answer to be. But that's not, it's
a hard answer. Yeah, parent.
Yeah. What? So actually, my cousin texted me one day, and she's like, I want to buy some books she has a little boy. He was in first grade. And she's like, give you some suggestions. And I was like, man, that's a little, I can't just tell you. And so this is over a text message. So it really made me process this question. And the text message reads you can try this or this or this. Here are some titles that my students love to read. But I haven't read any of these books. So if you buy them, I can't be responsible for the content. I even said that because I don't want to suggest a book that I haven't read and it be
when you suggest Captain Underpants, that may be questionable to say parents.
Exactly.
That kid also might love it.
Right. So after this conversation, I went, I had a break in my class. And so I walked down the hall to where Alyssa was teaching. And on my way to Alyssa, I overheard another teacher in the hallway trying to answer this question. And in my mind, I'm like, this is reaffirming what I'm going to ask Alyssa to do. I'm like, yes, I'm on to something. We can do this. So I go to her and I'm like, I have an idea. I want to do a podcast. I want to, and she's like, okay, what is it about? I said, it's about the question, what should my child read? And you immediately said yes. And then in my mind, I was like, yes, but I'm kind of thinking, like, is this ever going to happen? And then the next time I saw you, this is how I remember it. The next time I go down there, you had a list of podcast names.
Not the current name, but a list of names.
You did. And I was like, yes, this might actually happen. And I was just so excited. I was so excited. So I want to know, like, what made you say yes?
So obviously, like you, I'm very passionate about kids loving to read. I think that a lot of times kids learn to read, but they don't ever learn to love to read. And then in school, we're like pushing this idea of like, this is what you should read. This is what you should read. And so parents then believe that there are certain things that a child should or shouldn't read. And I have always, especially as a teacher leader, struggled with the question of like, can kids read X in the room? I remember we had a teacher who didn't want her kids to read graphic novels in her class, and she was an ELA teacher, and her reasoning was because that's not a real book. And I think that that was just because from her idea, like that's kind of like a comic, and then therefore that's not a quote unquote real book. And I think that's a shame that kids are being made to feel like whatever they want to read is not real valuable reading material. And so I think it's a really important question. And it's hard as a parent to know necessarily what you want your kid to read. So when you brought it to my attention, I was like, this is definitely a question I've got many times from parents, but also from other teachers. And then as we stock libraries or, talk to parents or send resources home, I think it's really affirming to hear like your child can read anything, but then that's also such a broad category that I think this could help people discover books that maybe they want their kid to read.
Yeah. So our goal is to kind of break it down and throughout the podcast just give ideas of like what's some fun books to read. Maybe I want it in my child's library at home. They might be interested if they're reluctant readers, whatever the case may be. If you just want to refresh your library at home, we're going to talk about some books. We're going to talk about um I don't know, books, children's books.
Talking about books, talking about different topics, different things that are happening, different times of the year. There's different books. I am a book box keeper for my personal kid. So like with my Halloween decorations, directions, with my decorations, I'll have Halloween books that I bring out at that time of year.
Yeah.
Because I think that's exciting. And that's like for my kids, I haven't seen those books in a long time.
Yeah.
So therefore it's like, oh, we're excited for Halloween and we have all this new material. And I think that helps parents to get new ideas of things that are out there. And also it's just going to be fun for us. I'm a big podcast listener.
Yeah.
So I was excited to do this. So as readers ourselves, we know that the majority of readers are level in that new book series. I love it when I read the first book of a series and it is just like, I can't wait to read on. And when you get to that last book and you're kind of like sad to finish it. So that's one of our reasons for turning the page, but we all have different reasons for turning the page. And as elementary teachers, our goal is to create that love of reading and to create page turners in our children.
Yeah. So maybe you are a parent who has the question, what kind of book should I buy for my kids? Maybe you're a teacher and you're looking to refresh your library, or you're looking for some good read alouds in your classroom. We're here to give you some suggestions and answer some of those questions.
So continue on if you want to foster a love of reading in your young children or young adult children. We'll do our best. We're going to go ahead and talk about some more about our reading experiences.
Yeah, and give a little bit of our reading journeys. So I'll go first.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so when I was younger, I was not a good student. I was not a good reader. I struggled reading. And I can remember though, like when I fell in love with reading, it was elementary school, like 5th, 6th grade. And my librarian would like introduce me to new books. I loved going in the library. It was really fun for me. And when she started to get to know me and she started picking out books that I might like, and this is very like on brand for me, Face on the Milk Carton. Nancy Drew, Whatever Happened to Janie.
Yeah. That's very on brand for what you like today.
Yeah, exactly. So that's where like I can remember like those are the first books that I loved reading, but it wasn't always easy. And then as I got older, I remember like I would always have a book with me, and then like my family members would talk about like, oh, she always has a book. She's so smart. I really wasn't that smart though, but it made me feel good. It made me feel good. Yeah, I was a reader, and so I always wanted to have a book with me, and so I loved reading since then. And then as I got older, I started a book club in college. We're in a book club together now, and so then that took us here. I guess.
And how many years is it running? 12?
Yeah, I guess 12, maybe 15 years, because I think I started like before,
Like a college added, yeah.
I was in college. Yeah.
That's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
So my journey is somewhat similar, but I was a reluctant, I don't think I struggled learning to read, but I struggled loving to read. So I did not like to read until post college. In fact, I can remember in college, one of my good friends, who is not in our book club, but probably should be, was like, do you want to create a book club? And I was like, absolutely not. I don't want to be in a book club because I really didn't enjoy reading. And that is not how I thought it was fun to spend my time. Um, and I feel like until audiobooks became a big thing, I did not like to read. So this is one of our questions later that we'll kind of talk about that I'm an audiobook reader. And I can remember the first book that I truly loved reading was a book that my grandma and I took turns like reading chapters. And I was in high school, so I was far too old for this. But I'm a very auditory person. Like I can be doing a million things, but I can still understand what I'm hearing, and I never stop to sit and read a book. And that has been true for me my whole life. I probably have ADHD and just was never diagnosed as a child. So until I started doing audiobooks, I just never found the love for reading. But now I very much want to teach kids and young people and my children that reading looks a little bit different for everybody, and everybody can love reading, but we're not all going to love reading in the same way.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's my journey.
All right. So we have a few questions that we kind of like want to drive this podcast and maybe like just refer back to every once in a while. We came up with these questions. So I'll go ahead and ask you the questions.
We want to do them one at a time. Let's do like number one, and you ask me, and then
both answer. Okay. Favorite children's book of all time?
Such a loaded question.
I know, it's really hard to pick one.
Yeah.
Did you pick one?
Actually, it looks like I didn't. So now I'm just going to pick like on the fly. So I'll say favorite children's book of all time. If we're going to say like it doesn't have to be a picture book. For me, it is, of course, Harry Potter. I love the Harry Potter series. I read Harry Potter, the first one, with my mom as a child, and I was a jerk and would not sit there and listen to her reading the book because I was being forced to read it. And now I've read it many times as an adult, and so it's sad that I wouldn't like let her enjoy that experience.
Oh yes, because you are gonna want that experience with your dog.
Yes.
Yeah.
Before mom. What about you? What's your favorite children's book?
So I picked A Bad Case of the Stripes. Classic children's book. I think every child reads this in school now. I definitely read it with my class. Love it from start to finish.
I think you've dressed up as that before, haven't you?
I don't know. I don't know.
Maybe someone else dressed up as that. It's like a good character dress up day.
Yeah, I think the teacher is always going to dress up as Camilla.
Yeah, it's iconic.
Yes.
Okay. Who is your favorite author?
So you're going to answer this question because I have zero favorite authors.
What?
I cannot. Okay, this is why though. Like, if you ask me who wrote any book, I don't know.
You're like every kid I ever taught. That is a child's answer. Like, I don't know any authors.
I like if you and a couple of the girls in book club have like favorite authors, and you will read everything that they write. And I would too. Like I think I would follow along and be like, yes, I love all of this. I I cannot remember authors' names. I don't know. So like I purposely did not answer this question. And I know that you probably have more than one. Did you?
I did answer this question. I'm about 22. But I would say, okay, so for children's books, my favorite authors are Peter Reynolds and Roald Dahl. Love Peter Reynolds.
Tell me what they wrote.
So Peter Reynolds wrote like BU. He wrote The Word Collector. He writes a lot of like SEL type books. And he is just fantastic. Also, although because read that with my class, we've read Matilda, read the BFG. I just think he is like a magic maker kind of author. He creates really great worlds. And
I love them both without even knowing
that you love that.
That I really love. Yeah.
Is that bad? No, I think that's fine. I think it's nice though. So once I find a book that I like by an author, then I'll go buy like every other book they ever wrote and see if I like them equally. And sometimes I burn myself out on that author because authors obviously, like I think this is not somebody I'm burned out on, but like Patricia Polacco has a very distinct style. Like she wrote The Junkyard Wonders. She writes a lot about disabilities in education.
How do you remember all this? Like
she was almost one of my categories in my library because I have a lot of her books that I love for her. And I think she's a great author. Same thing with Peter Reynolds. I have so many of his books that when I'm making my library labels, I'm like, oh, I could have a Peter Reynolds basket. But I don't do that because my kids don't care that it's by Peter Reynolds.
I wish I could. Maybe this podcast will help me remember authors.
Yeah. You keep a list if you have a trend. Yeah. But I also have adult authors. These are pop culture though. So I love anything by Leanne Moriarty. So she's Big Little Lies, The Husband's Secret, Loki, the best. Yes. And then she's had a lot of books recently made into series. So HBO has a series of hers. Hulu just came out with one of hers. The tennis book that I can't remember the name of right now. Apples Never Fall. And then Rebecca Yarros, Fourth Wing. I'm obsessed with her right now.
Hey, but did you read it? Does she have anything else besides Fourth Wing?
Yes. So she has some other books. I just read In the Likely Event. It's about a plane crash that she wrote.
Like her, you told me about that.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to read that too. Yeah.
Yeah, she's great.
Okay. Yeah, and I love her too. So
yeah, they do have favorites.
Yeah, you rock that. Good question.
All right. How do you read?
How do you read? Okay, so this means like basically, are you listening to books or are you reading like real book, like an actual physical book? Or are you reading on a Kindle or something like that? So I do have electronic readers and I used to do that and I loved it. I love especially when you get to like click on words. Did you ever do?
I'm not an electronic reader.
So you can click on a word and I'll give you the definition. And sometimes I need that.
Yeah.
And right now, the books that I'm reading, sometimes I really want to click on words.
Can I see a picture?
Exactly. But right now, I'm primarily just listening audiobooks and I am reading actual physical books too though. So I'm doing both at the same time.
Yes. So I'm never reading a physical book. Sometimes I will buy the book to have because I want it. And sometimes I will, like if I read with my class, I'm obviously reading a physical book. I am an audiobook listener because I feel like I don't have time for physical books. And that sounds terrible as a reader, that most of my reading is done in the car or as I'm doing tasks.
And you can listen and do tasks.
Yeah.
Like when I'm listening, I have to be in the car. I can't be at my house or at school doing something because then I'm playing back.
My favorite place to listen is in the car. But I have 2 young kids. And so sometimes you cannot listen to, Fifth Wing in the car with your toddler.
Right.
You can. We
love reading both ways.
Yeah.
We do. Yeah. And then we have some recommendations. So like book recommendations of like things that we're reading right now or things that we just think are like classic and you should read it too.
Yes.
Okay. So let me see.
So my first one is Rebecca Yarros, the Fourth Wing series. I'm obsessed with Fourth Wing right now. The new book is coming out in January and so she's been dropping hints. Rebecca Yarros has been dropping hints of what's the second signet of violets. And so that's really cool pop culture wise because you can be involved in the social media on that. There's so many TikToks.
Read that right now. Yeah. If you're going to read something, pick that up right now.
Yes. Or wait till December.
Or yeah, if you don't want a cliffhanger in a long way, yeah, wait till December. Do you have any more?
I have more, but I was going to let you get one.
Okay. So, I quickly went through like what we've read in book club and what are my all-time favorites. So one of them is Turtles All the Way Down.
So good.
I just recently reread it, and it is a movie.
See, he would be a favorite author of yours, I feel like.
I don't know what else we've read.
John Green. He also wrote My Sister's Keeper, I believe. Let me double check that.
Yeah, see, I did know John Green, but that's all. Like, we might have read something else in book club.
He got Paper Towns too, which is oh gosh, The Fault in Our Stars.
I didn't read that either.
Okay, so I was saying that author, but he's so good, and I don't know that he wrote My Sister's Keeper.
But I do love Turtles All the Way Down. It's about
he did not write My Sister's Keeper. Jodi Picoult wrote that, but she did one of my favorites because she had the elephant book.
That's one of my recommendations.
Oh, okay.
So Turtles All the Way Down is about a teenager and her anxiety. And we read that in book club, and it just really resonated with me. So I recommend everyone reading that. My sister just read it. I think she really liked it.
It's a good one because especially if you have anxiety, and obviously my anxiety is nowhere near the anxiety that she has in the book. But
you can relate.
You can relate. And I think it's a beautiful way to put it for people that don't have it that severe because it's totally like all consuming and something you can't control. It's a great thing for parents or teachers because it's really easy to be like, okay, just move on, get over that. But like, you can't. That's not how mental health works.
All right.
Okay. Another one I have is Tomorrow.
It's on my TBR.
It's so beautiful. So it is a story about video game creators. But it's really just about life and about the struggles that you go through in life and kind of like bouncing in and out of someone's life that you've been a long-term friend with. So got some like social justice issues in it, which I love to read books that kind of touch on those things. So it gives you a perspective that you just can't have when you don't live that life. It's a beautiful book.
Yeah.
You need to read it.
I will.
You need to read it.
So my next one is Leaving Time, which is the elephant.
It's the elephant. Oh, it's the elephant book. Okay.
The elephant book. Yeah. And really, I don't know that I can say any more details than the elephant book. Do you remember
how it says? I wouldn't remember. I remember about the book.
It's about someone who is watching elephants, right? Yes. They're watching and they observe like their behaviors when an elephant dies.
Yeah.
Great.
And there's a mystery in it, right? I believe
maybe who killed the elephant. How did the elephant die?
I think a human died in it.
Oh, maybe so.
I believe.
Maybe so.
Which is probably why we read it in our book club, because that tends to be things we like.
Yes. So this is another book club book, and everyone loved it. So I think anyone would. But yeah, it's about elephants.
I saw this meme that was like, how can you read a book and love it, but I remember absolutely nothing about it? And they kind of look like the photos that I do remember it being fantastic. Yeah. All right. Another one I have is Project Hail Mary. So it's by Andy Weir. He wrote The Martian as well. And it is about a teacher that is sent into space to solve a problem with the sun. And I actually just started playing it with my husband in the car on the ride home from Texas. And he's just driving and I turned it on and I could tell he wasn't listening. And I was like, this is for you. I'm listening to you already for you. Because it's just so good. And the message is so powerful. And I'm nowhere near as intelligent as this teacher. He is a middle school teacher, but also a scientist. But as a teacher, it kind of touches a place in my heart too.
Oh, I like that.
And you have another one?
Yeah. The last one is the book we just finished for book club.
So good.
Loved it.
Very good. We're going to talk about it.
I won't talk about it today, but yeah, we have book club tomorrow, and it's called First Lie Win, and it was very intriguing. It's it's kind of a mystery, kind of like a
Like true crime-y kind of situation.
yeah,
Not true, just crime.
but yeah, different take. It's not like someone. Well, there is murder. Forgot about that. So, but it's not about a murder.
Right. It's not graphic because she's a con artist.
She's
Yeah.
an artist, so it's a little bit. It's a different crime. Yeah.
Yes.
So, but we just finished it and it was great. And I mean, I don't have a whole consensus, but I think most of us liked it.
I think most people like
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have one more too.
Okay.
I don't know if you've read this. The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue.
Yes.
Okay. Oh, I got up.
Yeah.
Okay, we did. That was one of the. I often read like the reject
I know.
on book club. Like I like it when the description is read because that is how our book club works.
Yeah.
Is we get 3 covers and descriptions, and then we vote.
And you read all 3.
I don't always read all 3.
Okay.
I usually if mine does not win, I'm gonna read it because I want to know about it. But The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue is about a girl who is cursed to live forever but never be remembered, right? Live forever and never be remembered. And then a boy,
Everyone else is dying.
right? Oh, wait, maybe she has no belongings. I don't remember. She has no belongings because she's never remembered, I guess. And then the boy that remembers her.
Yeah.
And it's Henry. I love a Henry. He's like sensitive male lead. That is his name, but he's like he's my archetype of a male.
He's Henry. Okay. Okay. Yeah. I remember reading it. I agree.
All right, Leah. So what is making you turn the page right now?
Okay, so we're in a book club, and a book club is definitely keeping me turning the page right now. We're just finishing up a book and about to start a new one, and I'm really excited.
Absolutely. Yeah. Right now I am reading a book I found on Book Talk, which is amazing. I am very into the book talks. Like if you like this, then read this.
Yeah,
So
I see those all the time.
this came up because I am a big Agatha fan and a big Fourth Wing fan. And so it said if you like those 2 books, then you would like The Serpent and the Wings of Night. It's about vampires.
Okay.
And different types of vampires. Didn't even know that they were, but now I do. And so that is currently what I am listening to on Audible.
Okay, I can't wait to hear all about it.